Good evening. This is CS364 for BYU Idaho Online. This is our presentation for prototyping. This is brought to you by Matthew Martin
and Ben Smith.
Okay, so let's start this. Prototyping, the explanation. So, looking on dictionary.com, prototype, the original or model on which something is based or formed. So, it's just like if you were writing a paper, it would be the first thing that you write. You know, the very first thing after you gather all your research. It's getting all your ideas out on paper. The purpose of a prototype is to create that draft of your design, to get something that is more than just a figment of your imagination. It helps work out details and communicates ideas with productions teams. It's a lot easier to show a picture than have someone visualize an idea, because you can be explaining something, but the person that you're explaining it to can have a completely different vision than what you do. A prototype should mirror the design team's required specification. And this is also helps the design team work out the required specifications. Because if they're working on a prototype and it's not fulfilling the requirements, then they know that they missed something. They should go back and actually go through their requirements one more time to make sure everything's there. A prototype has limited functionality. Meaning that if you do have an interactive prototype, it would be mainly to see, like colors, schemes, all that kind of stuff, more like styling than necessarily functionality, because the logic is going to be in the main program, not necessarily going to be in the prototype. Types of prototypes include storyboard. A storyboard is just basically a flat picture that goes from one point of the application to the next, and it just goes in a linear order. Paper prototype is actually a pretty cool thing, I think. I think it takes a lot more work than doing an interactive mock-up. So basically, it's kind of like a storyboard and interactive mock-up, but you're doing everything with paper. So if you had a music app that had a play button, basically you'd actually draw everything out, cut it out, make it all look kind of 3D-ish, and the person you're presenting it to could actually go up there, touch the button, and then it would, tell the person what happens next, and then you go to the next screen and next piece of the paper prototype. Interactive mock-up is going to be coding. A lot of people like to use HTML because it's very simple. It's got CSS, so you can do a lot of styling and make it look really nice. You could do like a PowerPoint presentation too, so then, because you can modify what clicks happen and all that stuff. So there's a lot of leeway in how an interactive mockup can be. And there are many other types of prototypes too. So continuing on.
Yes. There are several upsides to doing prototypes. One is that you are able to find errors or downfalls or other such problems in development rather quickly compared to other development methods. Prototypes can help visualize the development of the software. It lets you see it, lets users interact with it, and it increases the participation of the design, and when interacting with stakeholders and giving them sort of a template to base their opinions on. Next slide. One such downfall is that developers can rely too much on prototypes. They can be expensive. They can go overpriced and cost too much. There can be such confusion in the prototype versus the actual system, so they can differ if the ideas of the stakeholder and the team do not match, and it also can increase the cost of it. Next slide. Prototyping is best used when the stakeholders have have a clear image of what they want, and when they have all the requirements um, brought to the developers, making a prototype should allow the transfer of the requirements of the stakeholders into an actual working model. Next slide.
Okay, so we're gonna demo a storyboard type of prototype. So we gathered information on our meal planner application. And what we see is that the beginning screen is going to be a calendar, a week's worth of calendar. Basically because people always plan out 1 week to do their meals. So we got this week's worth of calendar. You could click on any of these boxes and select what you want to do. And this also, in the calendar, will help you plan. So say you're cooking a turkey or something like that, you can easily make sure that you have a timing correctly. So if you gotta have that, cook a turkey for 4 hours, you make sure dinner's at 5, you gotta put it in like 1 o'clock-ish. So this will help you with that too. So putting in a meal. So this would be the first thing when you click on one of those boxes. You have a date, which would be auto-populated by the box that you put in, but you can always change it. A recipe. This combo box is a drop-down box / you can enter new things into it. You can enter in a new recipe by adding a new recipe into the system, and this recipe should have all your ingredients, everything that you need for it. After that is selected, go to shopping list. Shopping list, you can either, just like recipe, either create a new one or select one of the ones that you've previously selected. Once you're finished filling out this form, the shopping list would be populated with everything that's inside the recipe. And then you could go in there and actually edit the shopping list with the needs of like what's in your cupboards and all that stuff. So one of the last things we wanted to show you in our prototype storyboard. So say you did want to add a new recipe. Well, in this new recipe, here you can add it. You have the ingredients, which is a combo box. So a lot of times there are many different recipes that take the same things. So you can either easily select what's already there or add new stuff. And then you just enter quantity. So if you have eggs, you would enter eggs and then say 4 eggs. And then you give instructions. Then you give instructions to what you want to do with those eggs. Pretty simple. So you just keep, and this would be a shadow thing to where every time you wanted to add a new ingredient, you just keep adding it, and then until your recipe is completely filled out. And then the last thing is the works cited page. These are the sources that we got. And everything else. I hope you guys learned something with prototyping. That is our end of our presentation, and thank you for watching.
Thank you.